Hello, everyone, and hello, JT. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about our Leadership Canvas cohort that's coming up and your role in it. Nice to have you.
Hi, Von. So excited to be here.
And totally honored that this is your first LinkedIn Live.
Woo, woo, woo.
So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to talk a little bit about what this Leadership Canvas cohort is, and I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about yourself a little bit and your role in this.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, so Leadership Canvas Cohort. So Leadership Canvas is a program that Work Smart Advantage has been bringing into companies for several years. It's our signature leadership development program, and it's been delivered in-house in organizations. But what I found over the course of these years is that I'm often looking for those unicorn companies, mid-size, high-growth organizations who have the ability to bring us in-house. We love it there, and we also realize there's another and a greater need for us to launch this 8-week live online cohort so we can serve those organizations who want to invest in their leaders but aren't quite ready to invest in an internal program. So that's what that's how this 8-week live online program was birthed, I guess. So our first cohort starts on February 12th, and it's really designed for current and aspiring leaders, again, high growth organizations. And it's designed in two parts. The first part is really to develop communication skills. How do you become an effective communicator as a leader? And then the second part is going to be about intentionally designing your leadership style. And since I am not an expert in all things leadership, really my specialty is in creative leadership, teaching people how to bring in creative tools into the workplace. One big feature of Leadership Canvas Cohort is the fact that we bring in subject matter experts like JT, and JT is going to be sharing about the course that she's going to teach around emotional intelligence. And something that's interesting about emotional intelligence, the way we frame it, is that you can be a leader that holds people accountable and do it through emotional intelligence. So with that, JT, will you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, about how we came together to do this, and about the program you'll be offering.
Yes, totally. So first of all, thanks for having me here, Von. If you can't tell by
Rather
the
than sitting
smile
here
on my
talking to
face,
myself.
yes, I am super thrilled to be here. Before I get into a little bit about myself and how we met, I would be remiss, everyone who's listening right now, the program start date, I just actually logged this, Von. It's the same date as my second born daughter's birthday.
Oh,
so you said this is how the program was born. Well, February 12th is clearly a lucky day.
that's amazing.
We'll be thinking of Penny on that day. But no, in all seriousness, I'm a leadership development coach and facilitator. For a while now, I've been doing this, but in a past life, I like to call it, because it feels like it was years and years ago, I actually started out as a technical trainer and a sales trainer. So I'm very familiar with facilitating for everything from technical product knowledge, how to sell an instrument that requires 50 nanograms of DNA, to what makes people tick. And what I've learned and why I'm so passionate now about emotional intelligence is much of my career in L&D was spent really just focused on the IQ aspect. And so this acquisition of knowledge and kind of on the job training and things like that, just from an education perspective of, science. And it's super important. But what I've also seen, and what I've seen for some of the best leaders that I've had the pleasure of interacting with, is that they don't just bring IQ, they also bring a whole great bunch of EQ. Emotional intelligence to the game. And so I'm going to tell you soon, I think, in this little LinkedIn Live, a little bit about, what the course that I offer will overview. And, if you sign up for Leadership Canvas, what you'll get into. But Von and I share a mutual friend, Jane Main. Jane, hi, if you're out there.
Hi, Jane.
If you are. Hi, Jane. Who it just feels so serendipitous. She connected us, Von, I think it was a few years ago now.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
At
And
least a year ago.
we never could quite figure out the best way to partner or work together. But since starting my own gig now and offering these courses more broadly, I'm really grateful, Vun, that you're bringing me in to help support Leadership Canvas. And I'm excited to talk about EQ because Lord knows we all can improve our emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like the way we met, who we met through, and then let's not forget, let's name Stan Hader too. One of our friends, we had a mutual friend that we worked with in separate companies, but
Yes.
sort of each of our work besties in that different company. So one thing about the people I bring into Leadership Canvas is there's got to be a certain energy, right? Because Leadership Canvas is truly about we're bringing together a group of people from various companies, various roles, and there's got to be that connective tissue. So all of the facilitators, as you can see with JT, have this warmth about them, have this ability to connect people and connect with people very easily. And they have to be fun.
You got it.
As well as knowledgeable, clearly.
Yes, I appreciate that, Vun. I feel the same way about you, and I think it's a guarantee that if you join these programs, you will learn a ton while having fun. And so, come on.
Yeah, and you know what? It was so interesting, JT, is that for the longest time in my career, right, like when I was working in the corporate environment, even starting this business 10 years ago, I wanted to leave that word fun and play out of it. Really, it was almost I knew that's what I wanted to do, bring fun, creativity, and play into the workplace. But it was almost in the background. I kind of just sneak it in because I wasn't sure how it would play out or how people would take it. But now, that is a feature of this program. You're going to have fun. You're going to play. You're going to create. And we make no excuses for it.
I'm going to raise my hand here. So call
I thought you're high-fiving me.
High five and call on me for this because similar to you, I've shied away from words like that because they were often deemed soft skills. So a lot of the courses that I teach, whether it's Clifton Strengths, emotional intelligence, similar things like this, disc profiling, it was always like, well, those are really great, but those are soft skills.
Right.
And I mean, sure, but let's reframe that. They're power skills, they're leadership skills. They're all of the things that are going to make you a better human being and a better leader, not only in your company, but in your life. And so join me in my movement to not play small anymore and to shy away from using those types of terms because we need them. And the more we invest in ourselves and learn to be creative and learn to have fun and learn to tap into, again, we're not calling them soft skills anymore. Those power skills, those things that make us human. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's where the untapped potential in organizations lives, in my opinion. So I just feel fortunate to be a part of educating people in that.
Absolutely. And when we can empower leaders to embrace that, right?
Yes.
And look at these soft skills as power skills and share and go into their organization and be playful and be creative and be joyful.
Yes.
That gives other people permission to do the same. Yeah.
Yes and amen. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, let's hear a little bit about your program you'll be sharing. I think it's the 4th session of program 1 of Leadership Canvas Cohort around emotional intelligence, and not just emotional intelligence, which is a big topic in itself, but again, this idea that, when we are in the workplace, we are a leader, people, and I deal with it. We deal with this every day in the work we do, going to organization and seeing like, oh, there were no expectations placed. So there can be no accountability. But how do we wrap that all together, right? Like, how do we hold people accountable while also at the same time doing it in a way that shows emotional intelligence?
Yeah. It's the age-old question, isn't it? But let's talk about it. So the course that I offer is kind of an abridged version of what Talent Smart EQ teaches people and pulls from a lot of Daniel Goleman. So if you've read the famous book, kind of the first book that put emotional intelligence on the map, it was written by Daniel Goleman. It's a great book. If you've not read it, go read it. But the course that I teach actually pulls from Dr. Bradbury and Dr. Jean Greaves, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. So a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about right now, and if you sign up for Leadership Canvas and join us, you'll get a deep dive into all of this, as well as the ability to take an assessment if you so wanted in reading the book. But what's really, really, really wonderful about emotional intelligence is it's not fixed. So a lot of us kind of, walk around planet Earth maybe from time to time and think, oh my gosh, well, I didn't have this great upbringing, or I didn't go to private school, or all these things. And so I have this IQ and I can't get smarter. Okay, well, guess what? You can every single day become more emotionally intelligent. And the way that we think about that and do that is through these 4 core skills or 4 key pillars that comprise EQ. So let's talk about them really briefly. And then I don't think I can really get questions from anyone. I'm going to try to see right now.
I do have a chat feature. So if there are questions, I'll see them here and I can tell you.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. If you guys have questions as we go, let me know. But the first piece is self-awareness. And the definition of self-awareness, or how we think of it when it comes to EQ, is being able to accurately recognize and understand your emotions. With big 3 words here: as they happen. As they happen. The reason why that's important is because everything is easier in hindsight. So something, really, really emotionally straining, maybe, someone did something and you felt really upset, or something happened and you were really sad. And 3 hours go by and you're able to then sit down with someone and say, man, what that person said really irritated me. I felt super angry, or what have you. But how self-aware are you depends on, in that moment, were you able to recognize what you were feeling? And an example I can maybe give of this is, the other day I was in a conversation with a coworker and they brought something up to me, and I immediately started feeling my heart race and I started feeling myself get hot. Okay, self-awareness. Now, step 2, the second core skill in building EQ, is your self-management. So, okay, kudos to me, because that doesn't always happen, that I was able to feel some sort of body response, right? Again, emphasis on feel, because emotions, they don't first move to the logical part of our brain, right? That's when we tap into rational thinking. First, it is primal. We are in that amygdala. We are in that feeling center of the brain, and we feel something. So maybe it's nausea, maybe it's the heart racing, maybe it's we feel hot. Now, self-awareness. Now we move into self-management. So what did I choose to do in that moment? Did I choose to cut the person off, or lash out in anger, or tarnish someone else's name and throw them under the bus because I didn't like what was being said and I was feeling angry, or I was feeling hurt? Or did I use one of the 15 self-management strategies that we'll learn in the course, which is, did I take a breath and count to 10? Did I allow oxygen to enter my body in a way that allows me to slow down, move from this, feeling part of my brain, out of emotional hijacking, out of this place where we get triggered, and we have to make a choice, so to speak, as to whether or not we're going to let ourselves get amygdala hijacking. That's what Daniel Goleman calls it, where we're just immediately moved to a negative response because we don't even give ourselves the chance to have some positive self-talk. So take a breath. That's one example. Count to 10. And then choose how we want to react. Okay, I'm going to pause there, because those first 2 core skills make up the category of what we call personal competency. The second 2 skills fall into the bucket of social competency. Bun, though, I want to hear from you, since I'm just
actually, I am sitting here just thinking about, those 2 tools, those 2 tools that you just taught right there, how valuable those are in personal development and in personal life and professional life. And, thinking about Leadership Canvas and the people we'll be working with through these tools.
Yeah.
I think about like how many things have happened in the workplace where I have reacted versus responded.
Yes.
Right. So if I could take these tools that you just that one tool that you taught, or the two tools, and be like, okay, where do I feel this in my body? Like, how is my body reacting to this? Right. And what does that mean? Does that mean I need to respond, or does it mean I need to step away?
Yeah.
Right. How many more positive interactions you could create just through those two things?
I appreciate the kind of affirmation on that, because it's so true. And I mean, in putting it into practice in my own life, it's incredible the blessings and kind of the dividends that it's paid. And don't get me wrong, I'm not pretending to sit here and say that that is how I go about it every single time. I still absolutely falter. Yes. Totally. Okay. No questions in the chat. Should I keep?
Yep, keep going. Yeah.
Motoring? Okay, so that is in what I just kind of called the personal competence realm. The second piece, or the other two parts of EQ that we teach, are social awareness and relationship management. So kind of stepping out of self-awareness, self-management, and moving into social awareness and relationship management. And this is kind of looking more external then as well. And so social awareness, if I define it the way that Dr. Bradbury does, is the ability to observe, recognize, and understand the emotions, moods, and tendencies of other people. Maybe like an easy way to sum that up is reading the room, right? Mm-hmm. How good are you at kind of picking up a pulse of the emotions in the room, or what someone's going through? Vun, do you want to say something? I feel like you were having
no. I mean, it's just, again, it's like just nothing more than like, wow, how amazing. It's like almost a superpower, right? Like how amazing would that be to be able to read the room like that? Absolutely.
And so the piece that I want to just touch on quickly here, since we don't have, a full session, but sign up for Leadership Canvas and you will, is the concept of an iceberg, which every corporation loves to use this, and it's totally, overdone, but we're going to go with it. What do you actually know about someone? It's the tip of the iceberg, right? It's small. Versus what's actually going on with that person. There's so much under the surface. And so the main thing to explain here is that we teach a lot of social awareness strategies to help us learn how to get a better read of the room, understand the culture within the company and what might be going on, the types of questions that we can ask to increase our social awareness. Some people are naturally better at this. And when you take an assessment through Talent Smart EQ and you understand how you score relative to self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management, you might be like, dang, I'm really good at looking at my own emotions and my self-awareness is great. Couldn't tell you how that other person's feeling. Mm-hmm. My ability to read the room or look at a coworker and have any sort of semblance of an idea, terrible. And so that's okay. Wherever you are on that spectrum, again, myself, Vun, through this program will help teach you. And so I want to go into the accountability piece before I close with relationship management. A big thing for me is giving grace to people and understanding that no matter where we are on this walk of life, we know that we only know a small bit about what someone is going through. But in leadership, and when you're in a position of power, in a position where you have the ability to influence, I think it's really, really important that we dial up our own EQ so that way we're not necessarily holding others accountable, we're holding ourselves accountable. Mm-hmm. And through that, when other people watch us do this, they're going to wonder, how was JT so calm when her manager passed her over 4 times for a promotion? How did she manage to ask questions and seek to understand and still behave in a loving way? We start demonstrating this type of personal accountability through increased emotional intelligence, and people start wondering, what's in the cup that person's drinking? It's actually hot water. It's quite cold here right now. I'm weak in the Bay Area, but I'm curious, Vaughn, thoughts on that before I close out.
No, I think that's so true. This like whole idea of like leading by example. And I think a lot of things with leadership starts with leading by example and doing the things you want to see other people do. When I'm just going to say these words, because as you start talking about accountability, I thought of the words assume positive intent, right? 'Cause
Always.
I think that's something but all four of those parts play in, because I think about myself and the way I am, right? I'm a pretty easygoing person, but I also have this controlling part of me is like, oh my gosh, I thought that was gonna be done by now. So it's not like it's oftentimes I thought it was gonna be done. Why didn't they do it? And then it's a reaction.
Yes.
Versus, like you said, something that I teach is curiosity, right? Versus like, hey, I thought we had talked about this having like a deadline for this. Can I ask you why it hasn't been done? Right. And that's both holding someone accountable, but also showing them that I have emotional intelligence. I'm holding myself accountable too, for the way I am treating them, the way I am reacting to this situation.
One, I think there's a whole list of 66 strategies, which you will learn about in the course. But one of them as a self-management strategy, Vaughn, is exactly that. It's get curious. So you're spot on. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Okay, let me finish with that fourth. I like to call them like the wheels of the car. So we went through self-awareness, self-management, and then we just touched on social awareness, kind of reading the room, and so relationship management. And this is your ability kind of in totality to be able to use your self-awareness, your self-management, your social awareness to basically form, deepen, and sustain those relationships at work and in life. And there's a model that we teach. And so I'll give you a little sneak peek into it since you're here. It's all about needs. And there are 3 important needs for any relationship. You could imagine if I built a slide or gave you my slide right now, 3 circles making kind of a Venn diagram of sorts, and they overlap. And it's my needs, your needs, and what's required. And sometimes in the tricky relationships that we don't know how to navigate, we know our needs and we know what's required, but we don't know this other person's needs. And so what can we do to learn how to uncover and figure out what those person's needs are? Because guess what? If we know their needs and we know what's required, but we don't know our needs, or we know what's required, but we don't know their needs and our needs, this model breaks. And so we'll talk more in the course about kind of how to work a relationship management model like that. And I'll close with an analogy, my trusty little notes here, which is those 4 wheels, if you will, 4, not 8, 4 wheels of the car. Let's say you get the little tire light comes on and tells you you're low on air. So maybe your self-awareness is a little bit low on air. You can still drive, right? Like, put simply, we're all still driving around in life right now. But if we learn how with all 4 of those wheels to kind of fill them up to the best of their ability, the ride of our life is going to be so much smoother. Your ride as a leader is going to be smooth. And I mean, sometimes I like a bumpy ride, don't get me wrong, but I think we all can agree that figuring out a way to have smooth relationships, smooth, self relationship, let alone relationships with others, just makes life more fulfilling and we all do better. So
that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was truly valuable information. And I'm so happy to have you part of the Leadership Canvas program, because I think you're clearly going to bring tons of value. And when I think about the work we do and this program, particularly Leadership Canvas Cohort, as you're talking, all I can think about is like impact, 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 right? because we're out there, we're in different organizations, and we see the impact of not having emotional intelligence, not understanding how to deal with conflict, not knowing how to give feedback. And I mean, it causes a lot of, like you're saying, friction. So it's not a smooth ride. And if we can share this with more and more leaders who, again, like the whole idea of Leadership Canvas Cohort is come learn this and then bring it back to your teams, right? It's not like this, it's not come learn this and hoard this.
Yes.
Come learn this and teach other people how to do this for themselves as well. So we're really developing this leadership pipeline of people who can lead with empathy, emotional intelligence, hold people accountable in a way that is caring for everyone. I'm just so excited to have you, JT.
I mean, I'm thrilled. If you couldn't tell, I think, one, just the work that you're doing in terms of getting this message out, to your point, so that it's not being hoarded and that we're sharing this more broadly with the world is just admirable. And so I'm really happy to be here and just really encouraged by all the great work that you're doing. So
well, thank you. And thank you for saying yes to this. Okay, so a little bit more about Leadership Canvas Cohort. The way the way it's designed, it's in 2 separate programs. Program 1 is when JT's teaching. So program 1 is all about communication. So this is emotional intelligence is within this too. So, and then program 2 is about designing your own leadership style. I think a lot of people, particularly are the target market we're looking to reach is this idea of high growth organizations who are oftentimes promoting people into leadership roles because they're good at their job, but they're being promoted without leadership skills. And they don't have the time to give them those leadership skills. So that's where we come in as their partner to give them the skills that they need. So the way it's designed is program 1 is 8 weeks, and it's 4 topics, or we call them building blocks. Accountability through emotional intelligence is 1 building block. So 4 building blocks. They're 90-minute sessions every other week. And in between weeks is a 60-minute roundtable discussion so that there can be more conversation around what you learned. There's also access to our learning management system, a Slack group because we want to create community around this, a certification. So maybe all schools have this, but I went to this cute little Catholic school in Santa Monica, and I just love the award ceremonies. I gave my little certificate. So anyway, there's a certificate. And the other thing I want to share about that makes Leadership Canvas unique is the fact that we do it through this concept of creative integration. Like we said, we are not hiding play, we are not hiding creativity, we're not hiding fun. This is going to be fun and you're going to get to play. And we do it through a process called creative integration. So all the programs incorporate some sort of hands-on visual tools that's going to get you to think and learn using both sides of your brain, right? Bilateral thinking, bilateral learning, which by nature is going to allow you to be more engaged in your learning and retain the information. So everyone who enrolls gets this creativity kit with a big sign on top, a box that says, "Do not open until we start." But I know people open it anyway. But it's full of tools, as you see on the screen here, Lego kits, markers, a little frame thing we do. So there's a lot of creative activities in here. And, when I first started this work, I would bring in these I would call them creative art projects. And it wasn't that well received because people were like, we don't need creative art projects in our work. We're a serious company.
Yeah.
I've reframed it now. I call them creative artifacts. And that gives people to take it a little bit more seriously. You still are painting a rock, but it's amazing how many people, after all these years doing this, come back to me and say, I still have that creative artifact. Yeah. It still reminds me of these tools of emotional intelligence, right? It still reminds me of what my personal values are. So again, creative integration is our main teaching methodology, and we incorporate that into the Leadership Canvas program. All right, so if you want to learn more and you're interested in joining us, interested in more time with JT, because who wouldn't be? There's a QR code here. You can visit our website, and we are offering an early bird special with discount, I guess, a 15% discount through January 6th. When you go on that website too, I know oftentimes people want a little more information. Reach out. My email's on there. Reach out. I'm happy to get on a call with you, tell you more. Maybe I'll even throw you on a LinkedIn Live.
It's
Just
fun.
kidding. But with that, I just want to say thank you, JT. If you have anything else you want to say before we close out here?
No, I just want to kind of echo everything that I've already been saying, which is we're all a work in progress. You can always learn more. You can always become a better leader. And if you want to sit with me and learn more from an EQ perspective through this program, how to do it, I'd love to see you. But Vaughn, it's a pleasure knowing you and getting to learn from you. So can't wait for this cohort to kick off. And have a great
and I
holiday
guess happy
season.
holidays, right? Yeah.
That's right.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you, JT.